On January 3, 2026, at exactly 2:01 a.m., American helicopters landed in Caracas. Within half an hour, Nicolas Maduro was in custody. At the same time, control over oil reserves valued at roughly $17.3 trillion quietly shifted hands. But this event wasn't really about Venezuela. It was the latest signal of a much older and far more predictable process, one that has ended every major empire over the last 2,000 years. A cycle so consistent that once you recognize it, you begin to see it everywhere. Today, the United States carries a national debt of more than $38.5 trillion, increasing by roughly $6 billion every single day. Annual interest payments have crossed $1 trillion for the first time in history. Meanwhile, over 142,000 millionaires are relocating away from traditional financial centers this year alone, marking the largest voluntary movement of private wealth ever recorded. These events are not random. They are signs of stage 4 in a 7-stage imperial cycle, the same cycle that dismantled the Roman Empire, ended the Dutch guilder, and dethroned the British pound. The operation in Venezuela was not a beginning, it was a symptom. The 7-stage pattern of empire. Across history, empires rise and fall in the same sequence. Technology changes, names change. The pattern does not. Stage 1, sound money and real value. Every empire starts with a stable monetary foundation. Currency is tied to tangible value, gold, silver, or hard assets. Trade expands, productivity increases, innovation flourishes, and wealth is created through real economic output. This is the true golden age. Stage 2, expansion and social growth. With wealth established, empires expand. Infrastructure, social programs, public works, and institutions grow. Living standards rise, and the middle class expands. But gradually, consumption begins to outpace production. Prosperity is maintained rather than generated. Stage 3, overextension and currency debasement. To maintain global influence, empires spend heavily on military power and foreign commitments. Taxes rise but never cover costs. Eventually, leaders choose debasement over discipline, reducing precious metal content in coins or, in modern times, printing money. Inflation begins, trust weakens, and foreign holders quietly diversify. Stage 4, resource acquisition. As confidence in the currency erodes, empires seek tangible assets. Oil, minerals, strategic resources. Military actions are framed as security or humanitarian efforts, but the underlying goal is resource control. This stage buys time but does not solve the structural problem. This is where the United States is now. Venezuela holds one of the world's largest proven oil reserves. In early 2026, the U.S. took effective control of those reserves through military intervention. This was not an isolated decision. It was textbook late-stage imperial behavior. Stage 5, loss of confidence. Inflation becomes visible in daily life. Savings lose purchasing power. Wealth gaps widen. Political polarization intensifies. Foreign governments reduce reliance on the empire's currency. Reserve status begins to fracture, not suddenly, but steadily. Stage 6, fiscal dominance. Debt reaches a point where interest payments dictate monetary policy. Central banks face an impossible choice: raise rates and trigger default, or keep rates low and destroy the currency. Monetary independence disappears. This is fiscal dominance. Recent warnings from former Federal Reserve officials suggest the U.S. is approaching this stage. The 7th stage, collapse and reset. The final phase arrives through either default or hyperinflation. Currency collapses, savings vanish, the system resets. Those holding hard assets survive. Those holding paper claims do not. This is the great wealth transfer, and it happens every time.
History confirms the pattern. Rome debased its silver coinage until inflation destroyed trade and social order. The Dutch Empire collapsed under debt and military overreach, losing reserve currency status to Britain. The British Empire, despite industrial dominance, abandoned the gold standard and ceded financial leadership to the United States. Different centuries, same outcome. Applying the pattern to America. 1944, the dollar is backed by gold. Post-war expansion creates real prosperity. 1971, the gold standard ends. Inflation follows. The petrodollar system delays the decline, but only delays it. Today, asset seizures, capital flight, rising debt, weakening confidence. The math is unavoidable. What history teaches us? Empires do not collapse because of bad intentions or poor leadership alone. They collapse because spending persistently exceeds productive capacity. No level of technology or innovation can override that reality. Those who preserve wealth during these transitions share common traits: ownership of tangible assets, diversification across systems and currencies, transferable, in-demand skills, geographic and financial flexibility. Those who rely solely on savings, pensions, or fixed income are consistently wiped out. Final thought: the events in Venezuela are not the cause of what's coming. They are evidence of where we are in the cycle. History does not repeat because people are foolish. It repeats because incentives and mathematics do not change. The pattern has never failed. The only real question is not if the wealth transfer will occur, but where you will stand when it does.